stole it out of my bag.
It was on the, okay. No. Left. I cheated.
Okay. Okay, who would like to pray for us? James, go.
Dear God, this is pray for teaching, that it will be great, and that you would give us wisdom and strength through whatever we are going to be learning today, and just have fun with each other. And let's give us that.
Okay, so I did want to cover just a little bit more, kind of, sort of, and then kind of, sort of change the thing. So Matthew 18, we talked about church discipline and the 3 steps. First you go one-on-one, then you bring 2 or 3 witnesses, and then you take it before the church, and then they're gone. And we've covered all of that. But I want to make a distinction that a lot of people get confused about, and that is, there is, Matthew 18 is when your brother is in sin, right? When they're in sin, you go to them and you address that one-on-one, hoping that their humility will win and they will repent and you will have won your brother over, just like James talks about. Then church. Okay, so that's sin. But then we have offense. Offense? Offense.
S.
Offense. What do we do? Is there a difference?
Yes.
There is?
If it's against you or if it's against God.
What for out thou dost thy mean?
Someone offends you with what they do, but it's not a sin, because a sin is something that God will punish you for, but it's like an offense is like, ouch, that hurt my feelings.
Ah. So let's put it like this, my grasshoppers.
It only works if you have a Fu Manchu.
Yes. What am I writing?
We've all turned to Kelly. Radio.
I have no idea.
All right.
Rebellion. There are 2 L's. There's 2 L's. 2 L's.
Put a line there. There you go. Perfect.
They're overlapping. It's not a you. Rebulia. Okay, so when you've got sin, you've got somebody that's in rebellion, right? This is against God's purpose for their life, against God's moral decrees. They are in sin. It is rebellion against God. Offense, if it's an offense, it may not be. It might be rebellion. It may be sin, but it might not be rebellion. Tracking? Who's not tracking? Okay, everybody's gonna go.
I get it.
On the count of 3, everybody's gonna go. I'm tracking. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
I'm tracking.
Okay, now everybody's gonna go. I don't know what you're talking about. 1, 2, 3.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, this is called audience participation, guys. So, feel free to give me some kind of feedback when I ask a question. This is not appropriate feedback for audience participation. Yes, Ty?
I just want a clarification. When you said that what you said earlier with you don't understand or something like that, or I don't understand, you want us to say you don't understand, or us not understand?
So,
Steve-O.
I thought I might add a rebellion against God, not necessarily against my rebellion against my sense of right and wrong that may or may not be right.
Okay, so yeah, rebellion against God. Whereas this, an offense, it's like, wait a second, you're doing something wrong, and yeah, according to me, you're doing something wrong, but maybe according to God, they're not doing something wrong, right? Okay, what else is different between sin and offense? Amy.
It would be like you don't know you're in sin. So like you're a baby Christian and you go out partying and getting drunk and someone tell you, so you are. In sin. You have a chance to. You're not doing it out of pride. You're just oblivious.
Right. Right. So that would be an offense in your mind?
Nope, that makes sense. So an offense. Wait, what does might not be rebellion mean? I don't know.
See, this is why audience participation is good.
Is it more clear to say it is not always rebellion for the offense definition?
Yeah, an offense is not always rebellion.
Yeah. I feel like that's more accurate. It might not be.
always do that.
Oh wait, that's kind of thing. What about like
Is not be rebellion. It's not always.
Just rewrite the whole thing. There you go.
Is not always rebellion. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Okay, other differences between sin and offense.
Offense is more for your conscience. Sin is not. Sin is like clear cut.
Okay. So offense, yep, this could be a conscience issue.
Sin can be an unconscious issue.
Sin would be, yeah, like not necessarily, so more black and white. Okay. Yes, racism is sin. Okay. All right. So here, let's go with this. Sin. If your brother is in sin, this rests on them alone. Okay? They are sinning. You are not. If you've got a guy who is blatantly stealing from his grandmother, you don't have any part of that sin. He's the one sinning, right? Whereas, if it's an offense, this could be different. It doesn't just rest on them, it rests on both of you. Does that make sense? All right,
Yes.
so 2 people participated in answering my question.
And why?
Affects both might be a better way to say it.
Rests on both or affects both. Yep.
Well,
So, I guess what I'm saying is the responsibility for resolution rests on both. Ty.
Can you give us an example of like an offense and how it would affect them both?
Yes. So let's say this is what happens to me all the time. I hate that it happens to me all the time, but it happens to me all the time. I am sarcastic with someone, or I make a joke, or whatever, and every time I do that, I'm trying to get you, trying to like love you, like it's my love language. Like if I am teasing you, that's because I absolutely adore you. It is wired in me to tease you if I love you. It just is what I do. So, the problem with that is, not everyone realizes that that's me loving them. Or, maybe they do realize that it's me loving them, but it still hurt their feelings. So, when that happens, their feelings are hurt, and I should know about it and have some sort of responsibility for resolving that issue. Tracking? Whereas, if I was stealing from my grandmother, then the responsibility rests on me to change. Whereas here, the responsibility rests on both. Whereas it needs to be, both people need to give of themselves to resolve the issue. Tracking?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good, we got 4 people. So 4 people. We are, last time it was only 2, before it was 0. So by the end of today, everybody's going to actually be participating here. This is going to be good. I can feel it, Nathan. I can feel it.
Is it fair to say that an offense can lead to sin?
Say that again?
Is it fair to say that an offense can lead to sin, depending on how it's handled?
Absolutely. So, yeah, that goes under this. So, it's not always rebellion, but sometimes it is. So, let's say it's someone other than me that's offending you, because when I'm teasing you, I have never teased anyone out of anything but love. It's never happened in my entire life. I, would die if I ever actually did that with somebody. It's just not in me. So let's say someone else teases you, but it's not out of love. It's like literally they are trying to hurt you. Then yes, that is rebellion, right?
I think I was more thinking, oh, you hurt my feelings? Well, that's because you're a jerk, or you can't handle what I tell you, or something like that. Maybe is what I was more referring to.
What?
Like you get offended by their being offended.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Then you're both over there.
Can you repeat that?
Okay, so I'll be party one, and party 2. I tease out of love, offended happens. Then this person says to me, I'm offended, and I get offended. Because they're offended. I'm like, really? Quit being such a baby! And then, uh-oh, now more offended.
This is a big snowball.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, this happens all the time. Not with me, but oh my goodness, you guys know this happens all the time between people.
Are you saying I'm a big baby if I ever get offended by you?
No, I'm not saying that. A bad person is saying that. All right. Okay, good. Any other comments, questions about this?
No.
Hey! People answering. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's add more to this list. This one is pretty simple when it comes to resolving it. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3, 4. The steps that we talked about. It's as simple as that. If it is you're stealing from your grandmother and you must stop, so we go one-on-one, and he goes, no, I don't want to stop stealing from my grandmother. Okay, fine, I'm bringing a couple of witnesses. Yep, I'm stealing from her and I ain't going to stop. Okay, we're going before the church. Yep, I don't want to stop. Okay, you're out. Right? Simple. Offense, not that necessarily that simple. It could be 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2.
You forgot 3.
Did he?
And then you finally find out where the sin actually is, then it's 3. Okay, so it could be this. Derek.
This might mess you up, but sin kind of feels like to me more like a man in a waffle hole, and it's do like sections, whereas offense seems more like the one where it might be more spaghetti.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm confused.
You should compare spaghetti with
All right, so here's what we'll do. Here's what we'll do.
Someone's a little hungry right now.
For those of you that understand, we're just going to go like this. Waffle.
Oh gosh.
Spaghetti. There.
You spelled spaghetti wrong. Spaghetti has a H
I always thought
in it.
spaghetti was
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
See?
it does. It
No,
has
it
a
doesn't.
G.
Look, see? It doesn't though. See? There's no H there.
You're offending Ben Hunt.
There's not an H. See?
Put an H after the G.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's alright. It's alright.
Looks like Ben got busted there.
See, look.
every offense, there is some degree of sin, though it's unclear, and usually it's more so of preferences. And I don't want to say, I think if in a perfect world where there's no sin, no one ever gets offended. How to say, like our motives are never perfectly pure, something like that. There's no way to actually put our finger on exactly what is the sin or something like that. Sometimes through all the 1, 1, 2s that kind of comes to the surface, but it's not something we can readily see. It's more like the speck in your brother's eye or something like that than it is actual log or something.
Yes, I'm tracking with you. When we get to heaven, there will be no such thing as being offended. It won't be possible. That will be so epic. Like, we will be able to joke about something and no one will ever get hurt by it. It will just be amazing. Which, by the way, this little side note, I think Jim Carrey just became a Christian.
Jim Carrey? Yeah,
I think so.
He's one of us
I love him.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey.
I think. Now, I don't know. I can't, obviously, I don't know if he's accepted the Lord Jesus Christ as his Savior, but he articulated the gospel
No, I'm on it.
in front of a crowd of hurt people.
Yeah.
So here's hoping, because I want to spend eternity with Jim Carrey.
I know,
really
he's
do.
so funny. Oh my
You
goodness.
think he's funny now?
Imagine. Oh my
And
goodness.
he was more
Gangster
funny
Rizzo
in his heyday. He's been making more dramatic movies lately.
Yeah.
Which
So-
is good. Anyone that can do that, go.
That's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
What is it?
Okay, so Jim Carrey may or may not be. Hey, we don't need to go on YouTube and watch videos about Jim Carrey. This is lesson time.
Is that what you were doing?
Lunch will be a perfect opportunity to watch his videos.
Jim Carrey is a Canadian actor who originally was known for comedy roles such as The Mask and Ace Ventura, but then later started doing more dramatic roles such as The Truman Show and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Great.
There you go.
Alright, okay, so back to what Steve was saying. Back to what Steve was saying. I knew I shouldn't have said that. Okay. What Steve was getting at was, yeah, something's up when there's an offense. Something's not right in people's minds when there is an offense. And that's true. There is something there. Now, is it necessarily sin that there's something there? No. I wouldn't say necessarily that it is sin. Is something off? Yes. Is it rebellion? No. Now so anyway, before we get way deep into what's a sin of commission versus a sin of omission, because there's those things too. But it is the reason why there is an offense when party one is not sinning, but party two gets offended. The reason why is because there's a misunderstanding, a misinterpretation. And that's not sin. You misinterpret what the person says, or how they're whatever. You misinterpret it, and that's not necessarily sin. Is everybody tracking with that?
Yeah.
Yes. Very good, people. Very good. All right, so we are tracking with that. Now, if a person is hypersensitive, okay, they get offended at everything, that could be sin on their part. So if a person is if they're hypersensitive and they get offended at the drop of a hat, every single little thing is like, you hurt me, and they're just a victim of every situation. This person is in sin, okay? So because they are not trusting God, they're living in fear. They're living in worry. They're living under lies, okay? That everyone's against me.
So
and
people who misinterpret things are sinning against God? What?
No. What I'm saying is, I could easily misinterpret. Anybody can misinterpret stuff. The issue is when someone is the ultimate victim in every situation. That's a heart issue. It's not legitimate. Their fears are not legitimate. Their worries are not legitimate. They are very quick to accuse someone of things where that's not going on. Where there is no sin here is when this person goes, hey, I'm not sure if I'm understanding you, but this kind of hit me the wrong way. They're realizing and owning, this could be my fault. I might be misinterpreting this.
How does triggering people fit into all that?
Okay, so here's I'll tell you a little bit about me, okay? Stuff that used to trigger me like crazy don't trigger me no more. Because I realized, oh, that was a lie I was believing. I don't have to believe that lie. That's fantastic. So, let me see, what's an example?
If someone gets triggered by something you do, and they come to you and tell you that, it's like, well, I didn't really do anything wrong, and I know you're triggered. And I also know your brain is screwed up and it's interpreting it this way. So I'm like, I'm not really sorry, because I didn't do anything.
Right.
But your brain is screwed up. So how do you tell them, like, hey, help?
You want to maybe define what getting triggered is?
Yes, okay, getting triggered. Triggered is a common word around these parts.
Around these parts.
Triggered. All right. So let's go with this. This is another one that happens to me all the time because I talk and I get passionate and then I get louder, and sometimes that triggers people.
Yep.
Now, why might that trigger people?
You think you're getting angry.
Yeah. So who's tracking with that so far?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good. So it triggers people. Now, why might it trigger people?
Because they were battered with anger?
Yeah. So their experience was when someone gets loud, it equals anger, and I need to protect myself from anger. So it triggers them because what the trigger. So am I angry? No, I'm not angry. Do I care and am I passionate about the topic which I'm speaking? Yes, but I'm not angry. I just really want people to understand, and that's effective communication. So no, I'm not angry. But they're triggered, and they might possibly be believing that I am angry when I'm not. Or they may know that I'm not, but they're so wrapped up in their head that, yeah, they know in their mind that I'm not angry, but in their heart it still feels like I am.
Yeah.
Steve?
Could that also be similar to how the Bible refers to someone with a weak conscience?
No. No. Maybe. Conscience is such a huge thing. We could talk about the conscience every single day for the rest of our lives and not encompass all of it. But did you have a thought on that?
Well, the reason I brought it up is she brought up as realizing that I triggered someone, or they were triggered by, more accurately, they were triggered by something I did, not I triggered them. What our responsibility is in that case would be, at least in my head, somewhat similar to with a weaker brother or someone whose conscience is weak, where they think that any little thing is sin or something like that, where our response is to sometimes give up some of our rights, in a sense, for them.
Sure.
Not always, I suppose.
Okay,
but
yep.
it's-
Yes. So, yes. Absolutely. Sometimes it is a conscience issue. Let's see. Sometimes it is a conscience issue where one person determines in their mind that in order for them to worship God to their fullest potential, they avoid this behavior. And that's their conscience telling them, in order for me to worship God, I'm going to avoid this behavior. The issue is when they are putting their conscience on other people. That's a no-no. We don't put our conscience on other people. So in that area, they don't want to be, they don't want to engage in this behavior, but they're also labeling and telling other people or feeling that other people shouldn't engage in it. And that's what we call
Legalism.
ah, very good. That's what we call legalism. Okay. Okay. Where were we?
Triggering.
We understand triggering. We understand this is where the triggers come from. Now, did that answer your question? I don't even remember what your question was.
How you handle it when people are triggered. Like, you know their brain is messed up, and you know you didn't do anything wrong, but
Right.
they're still hurt by you.
Right.
So how you handle that? Because it's not really, I mean, it's kind of in a sense, but not really.
Yeah, they're offended with you, but you literally did absolutely nothing wrong. Now, there's times where this happens with me quite a bit, and I can learn from the experience and learn about them and their sensitivities, and so in order to love them, I'm very careful in when and how I tease them. And I can change that, and I can do better with that. Where in my initial teasing, no, I didn't sin. It wasn't me sinning. I didn't do anything blatantly. I was not rebelling at all. I was trying to love. But it just wasn't received that way. So I didn't sin, but I can still be sensitive to how they are and where they're from and understand, yeah, their story is this, and that really makes sense why they interpret it this way. So I'm not going to try to love them that way. Is everybody tracking?
Yes.
Anybody not tracking? Zero.
I was just going to ask what you would do in cases of, or how far you would go in trying to help them, safeguard them, or in what point would you say, call out legalism or something like that?
Right. Yeah, because we don't want to pander to people, and we don't want to enable their sensitivity, right?
Yeah, I want to.
If they're just going to be a victim of every situation, I do not need to enable you in that way. It is not good for you to stay here. So let's say in party one, I did something trying to love them, and they got offended, and they come back to me and they say, yeah, that hurt. Okay, so my response is to go, well, why did that hurt? And if the reason for why that hurt is because of legitimate things, such as, well, it hurt because I'm still, so this person in answering the question says, well, I'm still wrestling with resolution in that area. So maybe it's, whatever. So they're still wrestling with resolution.
W-R.
Wrestling?
You're having trouble today with your spelling.
I'm just, today is no different than any other. So they're still wrestling with it. Now, so what I do is my response then is they're wrestling with it is to love them in hopes that maybe one day they're done wrestling and then they can receive my stuff the way I intend it. Because our relationship is that way. So we're growing that way. Now, if If they're triggered, they come to me and I'm like, okay, what's behind this? Why is that hurting? And they ain't wrestling at all. They just want to be the victim. There's no wrestling. They just want me to change 100%, and it's all just them being a victim. At that point, then the best way for me to love them is to say, okay, I'd like to help you find why that bothered you, and explain to them why what you were doing was not sin. Gently, lovingly, go to that. In which case, a lot of times that's where the 1-1-1 goes to 2. Because a lot of times that's going to be confusing for people. And so you have to go to step 2. Tracking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tracking. Train.
I just wanted to make a comment because I feel like I fall in that E2 section quite a bit. And what I've also recognized with when people approach me is the way that they approach me seems to really help too. Of like, just, or if I'm approaching somebody else even, like my wife or something, like I want to like be careful about being brash and forward and like, are you serious? Like really? Like
Right.
they might be really hurting.
Yeah, absolutely. That is excellent. Excellent little input. Yeah, a harsh word stirs up anger, but a gentle, what is that proverb? Or
Answer
turns away wrath. Yes.
Yes, I've answered,
Always, when P2 comes to you with an offense, your number one thing is to look at you. Don't look at them, look at you. So when somebody comes to me and says, hey, this offended me, the very first thing that I am to do, the very first thing is to go, okay, what did I do? Is there anything I could change? Is there any way where I'm seeing this inappropriately? Or is there anywhere where I am having an unrealistic expectation of them? Jared.
So the only time you try to change if the person has a legitimate reason, to be offended. Because like the whole yelling when you get excited thing, like I do that all the time when I'm talking about something. I just start yelling, and it's like, I enjoy it. But like it's happened before. Me and Pauline were trying to explain something, and I got really excited, so I started yelling. And the girl's like, "Why are you yelling at me?" She got really upset and went to sleep. And I thought about it. I was like, "Oh goodness, I was yelling, but it was so good yelling." So the next day I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I yell when I get excited, you know."
Yeah.
And then she understood it, but like it's really hard to change something like that if you've been doing it for like however many years you were
Right.
like. I yell all the time,
Yeah.
so I don't know how like I can just stop yelling when I'm excited.
Right.
So.
And in that situation, I wouldn't say that you have to change anything.
Okay.
You know, being excited and getting loud is not sin. Now, if you're having a one-on-one conversation and you are with a person who you know is very sensitive to that, then the way you love them is by doing your best to tone it down.
Okay.
You know, and build that relationship and help them learn that yelling is not sin. You know, it doesn't equate to anger. It just equates to excitement. Okay, well, good. We'll stop there. Any other questions, comments? Thank you for your participation today.
Yeah.
Thursday we will do some more.
More participation? What?
More participation.
I used up my quarter today.